And that's why I think this session is quite important for a number of our existing clients and potentially new clients, which is the start of that project management journey. We've now got a bunch of data that's representative of what we'd like to be carrying out on this given property to get it where it needs to be. And you may or may not know that PAS 2035, why we're here today, is to some extent the quality regime to ensure that the journey is conducted in a legislatively consistent manner. Many organisations have been dipping their toe in how they undertake this, be it from numbers of spreadsheets to bits of paper stuck on a nail. And the reality is, under the whole PAS 2035 journey piece, the number of individuals that need to have touch points with the data through that workflow means that it can only really be truly accommodated and audit trailed by running it through a platform. Not something that we undertake, which is why we've got Ecoserv on here to talk about what it is that they provide for two things. Firstly, to provide hopefully yourselves with some insight and guidance as to what that journey really looks like, because it might be that you procured it out to third-party organisations and you're not seeing it, but you might wish to perhaps get some appreciation and see how you can get involved. And secondly, just to show how organisations like Ecoserv are working with other housing providers in order to meet the demands of PAS 2035 in terms of not only finding fundable jobs for SHDF, but actually just managing retrofit programmes for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years and beyond, in such a way that in the perfect world, the output data of that improvement is moving back into your asset database, it's being rerun, and you're able to always see real-time information that relates to the condition of your property so that you can forecast your budgets better. Yeah, the session is very much suited towards obviously housing providers, but actually anybody that's on the session that has an interest in understanding PAS 2035, I'm sure we'll get something from the session as a whole. Okay, on that note, on my unnecessary long introduction from me, Andy Fluck, I will move across to not Andy Fluck from Ecoserv, but to Nathaniel Butters from Ecoserv, who's going to take you through a little presentation. Over to you, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Andy. Mega intro there as always, so appreciate that. Yeah, afternoon all. Pleasure to be here presenting this afternoon to everyone on the call. I'm Nathaniel from Ecoserv, and yeah, we're just going to be taking you through sort of that high level PAS journey, like Andy said, trying to demystify some of it, perhaps give you a little bit more understanding of that end-to-end process where we can perhaps help, and just kind of going through that high level stage and just give you a bit more understanding and building on that knowledge that you may already have. So without further ado, I'm going to share screen. If you'll bear with me for 1 second, you might see ourselves. There we go. Just give me a thumbs up if we can see the screen there. Perfecto.
Yeah, all good.
Yep, good stuff. Okay, so yeah, title of the presentation, making PAS 2035 compliance easy. So hopefully we're going to do that for you this afternoon just by running through what that end-to-end journey can look like, and at the end of it sort of answering any questions. So a little bit of an introduction about us at Ecoserv. We've been established since 2013 now, so we're nearly 10 years in the game. We're based in the Northwest. We've got offices in Manchester and just outside of Preston. So our market is software and services, predominantly in the energy efficiency sector. So we have solutions for the majority of government energy efficiency programs at the moment. So predominantly we entered the market under ECO, which is the energy company obligation, but now as PAS is the underpinning framework throughout each government energy efficiency program. We are now involved across the board there, but we do specialize in full end-to-end PAS solutions. So anything to do with the energy efficiency, retrofit or renewable industry, again, that's kind of our specialized market package that we offer. So in terms of our software, so as mentioned before, we are compliance and workflow management. with a bit of a twist, to be fair. You know, the difference being, as opposed to sort of standard form building capability or diary management or scheduling platform, what we do is we build in regulatory and scheme policy requirements into the system and into the workflow itself. So what that means, it's actually guiding the user through that journey end to end. So whereas beforehand, like Andy alluded to, you might be using different workflow management tools, CRMs, you might be using form builders to sort of manage that. Through what we do by building the regulation into that workflow end to end, is we're guiding you through each step of the way, so you're not having to worry about the actual detail of the compliance. In some cases, we can sort of manage that for you and ensure that all your documents are completed in the appropriate way, and just take you through that journey end to end, really. So essentially, we are a software as a service solution, but we're incorporating a back office online portal with a mobile applications for field-based operatives out on site. So essentially, it's data collection out in the field and then organised in the cloud. So bringing together all of that compliance requirements, the documentation, the necessary accreditations, aspects of handover and certification, all in one place, so that wherever the outlet is for that documentation at the end of the journey, whether it's submission to your third-party funding partner or local energy hub supplier, and then ultimately bringing all that documentation together so that it can be lodged into the Trustmark data warehouse, again for compliance for whichever government programme you're working under. So in terms of energy efficient programs that are available in the market at the moment, you know, there are a number of different energy efficient programs in flight, which is great. Like I said before, in 2013, when we started, it was only the energy company obligation. So it's great to have a number of different ways now of accessing funding, which under the wave 2 of SHDF, we can now blend these different funding threads together, which is really useful. So making sure that you're maximising the work and what you can do to each of these properties. Now, ECO is considered as one of the most successful energy schemes to date, delivering over 3,500 million measures, installed over 2.5 million households until the end of this March this year, I believe. So there's still a long way to go, you know, to meet these ambitious targets, you know, to reduce household energy bills, phasing out fossil fuels, and ultimately that road to net zero. You know, and the real goal here is reducing fuel poverty, especially with the rising costs at the moment, you know, and everything that's going on externally. It's so important. But also there's key to ensuring that there's continuity maintained under these different schemes to support the supply chain, not only to deliver these requirements, but to expand to meet the growing demand of the retrofit sector. I think if there's one thing we've seen over the last sort of 12 or 18 months, is the supply chain is under strain and it does need support, and having continuity of these different schemes allows the supply chain to sort of plan for the future. And you know, the task is enormous when it comes to retrofit. Now, in terms of the new standards, so I'm sure most of you on the call have now heard of PAS as a standard. And in July last year, so July 21, the new and updated version of PAS 2030 was launched, which was the 2019 version, which was an enhancement of the 2017 version, which was in operation prior to that, which added this additional layer of complexity onto the 2017 version, which was the 2035 part of the standard. So building on that existing standard, the idea was to drive a more holistic whole house approach and focus on, where possible, on fabric first. Prior to that, installers were just kind of targeting certain measures, and properties weren't considered really on a whole house perspective. But again, you know, why is it important? So particularly under Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund, you know, one of the key criteria is that projects are delivered to a strict safety standard and compliant to the specification and requirements set under PAS 2030 and 2035. So that's one of the lead requirements under the scheme. And when we're talking about PAS 2035, so this upgraded version now, defines a number of new roles and responsibilities throughout the entire journey, but it also includes a robust risk assessment process and requirements depending on what that risk route is within each property. So you now have these additional roles of retrofit advisors and assessors. You have the retrofit coordinator, which ultimately doubles up as a project manager for the journey, so the full end-to-end overseeing of the project. You have the designers, so there's a lot of emphasis around retrofit designers now, especially on more complex projects, to ensure that when you're dealing with intricate properties, that the right measure mixes are suggested, and then the actual design of how those interactions work with the property. So whether it's fabric measures, ventilation requirements, putting together detailed drawings for the installers, then that is a real key role now to sort of mitigating risk within different property archetypes. The installers, the role hasn't changed massively for the retrofit installers. They're still installing very similar as they would under the 2017 standard. And then to kind of bookend it all at the end of the project, we have the retrofit evaluator role, which again at the moment under PAS is relatively basic. We're just ensuring that the occupants within the home are getting the desired outcome. So whether that's enhanced thermal comfort, it's reduction in energy bills, or it's an overall enhancement of energy efficiency within the property itself. So there's a lot going on, from simple standalone measures, which can be done under a pathway, a more simple pathway A route, to a more complex multi-measure project with lots of different interactions that will fall under pathway C. There's a lot to consider now through each part of the journey. And all of this complex process operates under the rigorous scheme requirements as outlined by Trustmark, who are the government approved quality standard, and they're essentially the custodians of PAS now. So what is the problem? I mean, if PAS wasn't enough, understanding where to start and with what data you have, where do you start on this journey? You've got all these information in different platforms and systems and all over the place. So a lot of it does boil down to, well, how is that data being managed currently? So if we're looking at the data flows, there's a lot of information stored and utilized on different systems and platforms for all your assets. One of the biggest issues we see, and other guys at Sava do, is that information, is it current? Is it right? If so, how can we be sure? We've got a lot of this information there, all these different data points. And as you may know, with Sava, a very clever way of helping with checking that data integrity through the intelligent energy platform by triangulating some of those key data points of the different assets. This way you can sort of quickly understand where your housing stock is least efficient, but you can also pick off some of the low-hanging fruit in terms of, well, how can we quickly sort of move those and increase those SAT points and make properties more energy efficient. But then it's also understanding, well, where do you get the most bang for your buck, and where's the best sort of ROI and payback for either the provider or the actual householder themselves. So a lot of different stuff going on. It's how do you manage it? How do you get the right information then to make those informed decisions off the back of that? So that is all great, but then what? So we've been working with Sava on this to try and understand, well, how can you bring this sort of circle of data into something that actually makes sense and you're getting the right outputs at the right time from there. So this is where us at Ecoserv can now come in and assist with the rest of that PAS journey. So essentially you can take that data and stock appraisal you've completed in intelligent energy. We can plug this into the Ecoserv platform. We can then start that compliance workflow process. So once you've appraised the stock, can plug it into Ecoserv and we can start that project workflow, breaking each of those requirements now down into a property by property level. to undergo that full end-to-end compliant PAS process. So when we're talking about those different compliance stages now, so we've got to the point where we've got the output data from Sava Intelligent Energy. We're going to input that data now into the Ecoserv platform, which is then going to wrap the whole end-to-end PAS journey into that compliance and workflow management solution end-to-end. So we've got the different stages here. We've got the pre-installation stage where you're looking at retrofit assessments. So you're sending someone out to the property to do a full building assessment. They're going to dig down into the detail, understanding the building pathology, what defects have we got in there, is the ventilation sufficient, you know, are we actually at a point where this property is even suitable to have some energy efficient measures installed. From that point, this is where that push and pull of data starts. So we've got the information collected out on site, that's then uploaded into the platform. It's got the retrofit assessment. If the assessor's qualified, they can also do technical surveys which are specific to whichever energy efficient measure you're going to install. There's a lot of flexibility in this workflow because we understand that you can't always follow the PAS standard completely rigid. There needs to be a bit of give in there, especially when you're trying to organise site visits and the different roles and responsibilities within that workflow. So from a pre-installation point of view, we've got the assessment. We're then going to start looking at producing retrofit plans to understand, you know, what's the property suitable for? Is there different programs of work? Do we want to look at tackling some of the fabric measures first, going back further down the line, putting renewable measures in? So at this pre-installation stage, we're kind of just understanding what we can do with the property, how we can, you know, pick off some of that low-hanging fruit, increase the SAT points, essentially getting you to that band C, but also looking from a holistic point of view, how we can bring all this together, do any remedials at the property and make sure it's suitable. And all this is kind of overseen by the retrofit coordinator through the back office side of the platform. So at the point that the retrofit coordinator is happy that the installation can now take place, that data is pushed back out to the installer. So you may either have installers or contractors that you've worked with previously, or PAS installers that you're newly engaged with. They can have access to the installation part of the platform. So they will get that data out on site. They'll conduct the installation, obviously any remedials that are done, it's all recorded. Mid and post evidence is recorded through our mobile applications and pictures. Everything's date and time stamped and correctly gathered. And the installer is guided through that journey using the mobile application. And all that's done out on site. Once that's been completed, that data is then pushed back into the online portal where all the post-installation checks and quality assurance can take place. Retrofit coordinator can kind of pull all the documentation together. If he's happy that it's all been installed to the correct standards, we've got all the right qualifications at each of the different stages of that journey to date, then the information can be compiled and lodged into the Trustmark data warehouse alongside that retrofit evaluation piece taking place, ensuring that the job's been done correctly and that the occupant's getting the right outcomes and there's no unintended consequences at the end of it. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Like we say, a lot of that push and pulling of data, you know, and can be quite complex regardless of whether you're using a system or trying to manage that manually. It can be quite challenging at times to ensure that everyone's doing the right bit at the right time. And then once all that's been completed and the coordinator's happy with that, and we've got the lodgement certificate from Trustmark, we can output that data then back into the asset management, whether that's simply just done with a download and upload, or if asset management systems have that API capability, we can, you know, systems can talk to each other and that information can be sent through. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on, but again, it's just giving you that full turnkey and circle of that data and keeping and maintaining the integrity, where with some of the manual processes, you can lose that just due to human error. It is a complex process at the end of the day, and we've been on both sides of it, where we've had to go through manual processes of producing PAS compliant work, and then we've also delivered work through obviously our own platform. So there is a lot to consider as you go through that journey, but hopefully that can just allow you to see how that circle could work, again, with all the right pieces in place and the right systems to be able to assist you with that delivery. So in terms of some of the key features there, speed is one of the key things for us, ensuring that you're getting the right data at the right time. A lot of this work has to be installed under certain time constraints, so it's critical that that quickness of the data transfer and the push and pull of it is there. Also having the flexibility, a lot of different roles and responsibilities within the process. As we looked before, there's sort of 6 different roles there, but there are also maybe other roles which are surveyors to be involved, thermographers, damp surveys. Again, so just understanding how that all needs to work along the journey. Compliance is the big one, ensuring that we're compliant to the standards. Trustmark, all programs have to be lodged into the Trustmark data warehouse to be able to access the funding. And having seamless transfers, like we said before, with manual processes, things can get lost in translation. Being able to have that digital push and pull at each stage of the process is key to visibility and auditability of the process as well. And one of the biggest ones we see is being able to deliver these programs at scale, because once you've got a number of different projects in flight, it can be quite challenging to project manage and oversee what's going on. And to do that at scale, again, if you're dealing with 10, 15 or 100 properties at a time, you want to be able to make sure you can manage that work effectively and simultaneously as well. So our approach, again, it's very simple, or I'd like to think it is. Learning from previous schemes, we do know where there do need to be real considerations and focus around, resident engagement, massive one. The delivery program itself, technical challenges, how are they overcome? Once you get out to site, there could be all sorts of things going on, not only from an assessment point of view, but once you go into install, how do you actually tackle those in real time? Procurement under the different roles with installers and products, and BAEs want evidence of this throughout the program. So there's a lot of different plates spinning. And from our point of view, we just want to ensure that as a social housing provider or principal contractor, you can control the process to whatever level you require, through intuitive software solutions that can guide you through the entire PAS journey at every different stage. We want to ensure that delivery is being looked after. It's maintaining the highest standard of compliance, because that's what this standard is all about, ensuring that the work's being done, it's being done correctly, and that there's no recourse at the end of it. So from our point of view, we can provide a light touch approach. We can do full end-to-end service depending on what the requirements are. The goal really is to just ensure we've got that compliant delivery through efficient systems and processes, but providing that visibility and an audit trail to all of the stakeholders involved within the PAS workflow. So just sort of wrapping up really now, some of the latest work we've been doing with local authorities, with the social housing providers, with some of the energy hubs, with principal contractors, working very closely with Stroma and Elmhurst, who are accreditation schemes for retrofit coordinators and retrofit assessors. So we're plugged into all the different facets of the supply chain. So we've got a good understanding, sort of that end-to-end process, but also from a partnership point of view, we're very good at connecting the dots, and understanding where people might need assistance, and not only from a software or services point of view, but we can also, our partners at Stroma and Elmhurst provide building services, so we can basically encompass any aspect of that PAS 2035 journey. So essentially, that's kind of it from us. I mean, obviously there's a what next, but we're happy to answer any questions, whether it's how we can help you with PAS, or if you've got any general sort of questions, we'd be happy to answer. So yes, thanks very much for your time, and Andy, I will pass back over to you.